Matt Walsh stuff. So Media Matters basically found these old audio recordings from Matt Walsh's earlier career as a radio host, where he spoke about why he feels, and this is from 2011, that he talks about why he doesn't think people get outraged, why he doesn't understand why people get outraged, I should say, when a 16-year-old girl or 17-year-old girl becomes pregnant, because their fertility is already in place. They've had their periods and they're ready to bear children. The reason this is notable is because Matt Walsh has been one of the loudest voices in his and good job by the Surfs putting up this image of him on this audio clip. I believe it's the Surfs or Media Matters, I'm not exactly sure, in front of the banners of What is a Woman.
Yeah, this might be the Surfs themselves, but the audio itself comes from a Media Matters report from Ari Drennan and others. Very comprehensive.
Right, and the point is, though, that he's been constantly talking about how the left and LGBTQ people are groomers, and they're obsessed with the bodies and the genitalia of young kids, and they're butchers. And it seems, though, that Matt Walsh is the one who's fixated a bit on the bodies of children.
It is not. In fact, ever since the beginning of time, teenage girls have been getting pregnant. It used to be more common. The peak, ever since they started keeping records of these things, which they only started doing recently, like in the 20th century, but ever since they started keeping records, in 1957 was the peak for teenage pregnancy. 1957. Not 2009,
well, back
not
then,
today.
All of them were supposed to have kids. Like, that's when you had kids.
That's my point, okay? So to all of a sudden act like this phenomenon of girls getting pregnant at a young age that we consider young, 16 or 17, to act like it's a new thing is ridiculous. It's always been that way. Even biologically, and this is me just stating, right now I'm going to start by just stating facts. So fact number one, it's not a new phenomenon. Fact number two, in fact, it's a phenomenon that was more common earlier in history, and for first
less civilized
6 to 10,000 years of human existence, it was a normal thing. Fact three, girls between the ages of like 17 and 24 is when they're technically most fertile.
Yeah.
Okay? That's biological. That's a fact, all right? I'm just stating facts. That's all I'm doing. But what happened recently, and this is the fourth fact, recently in the last 30 years or so, we decided that that's way too young to start a family.
Why?
And because now
divorce rates would probably go up, and once you're that young, you can't really make sure that you know.
No, all right, pause it. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's divorce rates. The reason that girls were getting impregnated at young ages throughout history was because girls and women were property. They were property for men. And when they get their periods and when they begin to become of an age where their bodies could biologically produce a child, they were immediately sold off as a part of, I don't know, some sort of deal between people, or it was a marriage that was arranged, or it was a convenience for different families to someone who deemed them an appropriate mate without their choice or their agency. And the reason that we don't do that anymore as a society is because they are children. And it's wrong. So Matt Walsh, I mean, man, maybe he should bring back this segment, and he can have some of our libertarian callers populate his comment section, because age of consent is one of their primary operating principles. But it's just this is the guy who says the left is obsessed with children's genitalia.
I mean, ultimately, over time period, fertility decreases in humans. That's just reality. But I'm seeing 18 to 24. What do you say, 17 to 20? It's just weird which numbers they come up with.
No, he said 16 to 24.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Right. You are more likely to be able to have children earlier in pregnancy.
But continues to your 30s.
Yeah, right. It's just about when you decide to make that decision for yourself. The reason that young girls were getting impregnated was because they didn't have a choice, because it was seen as their duty, and they were either raped or forced into sex in many instances.
Married off by their parents.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it was not their decision. It was either their parents' decision, and when it was time to have sex, it was oftentimes the man's decision. And that could come in very violent forms or sometimes consensual forms, but the reality is the genesis of that union was not the girl's decision.
Well, this is why they were able to get on board with Roy Moore, because the Roy Moore situation where, like, and I can't remember the specifics, but like they were rationalized as like, well, what if like this was okay with the parents or whatever like that? And it's like, yes, actually that did happen a lot, and it was bad.
Right.
That like a leading figure in a community, recently widowed or whatever, would say, oh yeah, your young daughter, that's mine now. She's going to come procreate for me and do my dishes. Right? Like that's how it worked, and that was a less civilized time.
And that's also why modern conservatives are able to see the view that, you know, child sex trafficking and grooming of children to be LGBTQ is perverse and disgusting. But also I support lowering the age where children can get married in red states. That's why they see there's no incongruence between those two kinds of thoughts. But keep going.
Trevor's axiom is a well-known equation in online trolling. It's a way in which one person can create a massive reaction on the internet. Look, person A trolls person B, but it's not about person B. The troll is trying to push buttons to try and get a reaction from hundreds, eventually creating person C, whose overreaction and self-righteousness will elicit a reaction from persons D through F, who weren't trolls but can't help rip on person C. Their reactions lead to outraged persons G through N, and it keeps going, generating massive energy. It's like the fission reaction that leads to a fusion explosion, all bringing out the worst in humanity.
That sort of sounds like how I got elected.
I'm a Jew. I have a few hang-ups about killing Jesus.
Just make it quick. Through the neck. I'll arise again immediately.
Don't make me do this.
My son, there is no time. Do it!
Eric Cartman can never know about this.
I understand. And Kyle, Happy Easter.
Happy Easter, Jesus.
Kill the rabbit!
Sorry, little bunny.
Snowball!